Rachel from Cap and Cork, and I'm stepping up to the bar today with Brian, our assistant manager out at Covington Plaza. Brian, how long have you been with us now?
Just over a year now. Right, yeah. For this tour.
This tour of duty. Fair enough. So, me not knowing a lot of your background, didn't realize that you had quite the extensive experience when it came to mixing drinks and finding new flavors and things like that. So that's kind of what we wanted to explore.
Quick little rundown. I'm 20 plus years in this industry. I've ran country clubs, food and beverage departments, general manager of a restaurant.
You've been there, you've done that?
I did a tour here of 3 years the time before, learned the retail side. My main focus is usually wine, but I also love cocktails. I like the mixing, I like the thought process behind them, and I love the history. So that's what I like.
There we go. So we're gonna tap into Brian in this video segment and hopefully some future ones. Today, what are we exploring?
We're going into old fashions.
It's a classic.
Who doesn't love an old fashioned?
I don't think I've met anybody in our area that doesn't always request an old fashioned.
Right.
So, what makes an old fashioned an old fashioned?
Old fashioned's really just a process. You're going with a sweetener, a bitter, and a spirit. Fruit garnish. That makes an old fashioned. It used to be when you went to a bar, and we're talking way back before Prohibition, you would come in and you'd order a cocktail, and then you could say, make it the old way, which meant add the extra sugar.
Okay.
So beforehand, cocktails were always sweet, then they went through a time where they weren't, but then, all things are cycles.
Comes back around.
They wanted them sweet again, so you would order it the old-fashioned way.
Okay.
Extra sugar.
So that's what we're starting with.
That's what we're starting with.
A traditional.
That 1950s style old-fashioned.
All right. What do you got for us?
So what we start with is the full old way. You got to go with sugar cubes. They make it the way to do it. You throw a sugar cube in each glass. And there's no point in making one because you should be sharing with your family and friends.
And the more the merrier.
Staying the full traditional. It's Angostura bitters. It's the original. It's the way to do it. You go ahead and you just soak the sugar cube with bitters.
And I think that's a staple that a lot of home bars and home mixologists have turned to, even before COVID. That was a standard and a staple in your...
It's the one that you know. Every bar you go to is gonna have Angostura bitters, and if they don't, tell the bartender to get it.
Exactly.
Then we go on to, the bright neon cherry. No, they're not the best, but it's what makes this.
But it's typically what you find in an old fashioned.
It's what you find in an old fashioned at all the normal places. A bright neon cherry.
Those are bright.
They are bright. And these are big ones, which is kind of nice.
Bonus.
You take a nice slice of orange. You just drop her on in.
That seems simple enough so far.
I mean,
I think I could handle this.
This is a really easy cocktail. We're almost done.
Even better.
So you take your muddler and you just get in there and you get them all together. You crunch up the sugar, you get the juice, you crunch up the cherry. If you want to be a little bit more refined, you don't crush up the skin, the pith of the orange, because it makes it a little bit bitter. This is a sweet drink, so you kind of don't really want that in there.
Does the muddler matter?
It's personal preference.
Okay.
I have flat bottoms, I have toothed bottoms, I have metal, I have wood.
So somebody shouldn't feel like if they're doing this at home that they need a specific...
Use a spoon.
There we go.
It's more important that you're making the cocktail, you're having fun with it before you're doing anything else. So you get that all mushed up. And then sticking with the tradition, the traditional whiskey for old fashions is a rye.
Why is that?
It's just America's original liquor, right after Applejack. So You do a rye. This is Rittenhouse. It is a bottle and bond, 100 proof, extra tasty, a little bit of spice, plays really well with the sweetness in the cocktail.
Nice.
I build everything off of 2 ounces. That's just my personal preference. It means I don't have to do extra math in my head.
Nice and even. So since you're using a rye, does the mash bill matter when it comes to that? Does the proof matter?
Since it is a sweet cocktail, I do like the extra proof of a bottle and bond.
Okay.
That 100 proof carries a little bit better.
But this is also an instance where people could build the cocktail to taste according to their palate.
Exactly, that's
so
the great
they know
thing.
they love those spicy ryes. They can go for a higher proof.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or if you know you like a sweeter one, you could skip a rye. You can go to bourbon. You can go to a wheated bourbon.
Okay.
You can do whatever you want. That's a beautiful thing about cocktails is you're not wrong.
I like that.
I like to give them a little stir before the ice goes in. Make sure it looks good. And then since we are going old fashioned, we are going with just straight old school cube ice.
Cube ice.
Go ahead and fill up the glass. Extra ice is never a problem. And another stir just to cool it down.
Now these are bright, they're beautiful. I can smell the orange from over here, so they're aromatic.
I almost think of these as whiskey candy.
Fair enough.
Which is a great thing.
Yep.
You know, they're sweet. You can have as many as you want, as exception. And there you have it, a very traditional.
That's a beautiful lineup.
Old fashioned.
Perfect.
So now we're gonna give
We
them
gotta
a taste.
sample it. Thank you, sir.
We've got a couple extra friends off camera.
What, us later?
Yep.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That's perfect.
It's everything you want in an old fashioned.
Yep.
For when you don't want to think about it a lot. It's a little spicy.
Spicy from the rye, but it's balanced so well between the sugar cube, so like that simple syrup kind of approach,
Right.
and the sweetness of the fruit.
But nothing is over the top on any of this. They all play well together. It works out nicely.
No, this is perfect. And I felt like it was manageable even for somebody that might not be a mixologist
Right.
or
This is-
feel.
Yes, I used a measure cup. You don't need a measure cup. 2 ounces, real easy. I got a cheater board right here. 2 ounces is 4 tablespoons. Every kitchen has tablespoons in it.
There you go.
You can do 4. You're
I
done.
like it.
That's the only thing you have to measure in this. Everything else is,
I'm sold.
the sugar cube is a sugar cube.
So I know probably a lot of our friends and family that have been either stuck at home for the past year have kind of like perfected different cocktails.
Sure.
And I really hope that the old fashioned was in their
It should be in
repertoire.
everybody's repertoire should have an old fashioned.
Absolutely. So if you have questions on an old fashioned or traditional, make sure you stop into Covington Plaza. Brian's gonna hook you up with that.
We'll take care of you.
From this, where do we go next?
Oh, we're going a little bit more new school. We're going to a smoked old fashioned.
Smoked. So we just tackled the traditional old fashioned. Where do we go to next?
So next we're going new school. New school is smoked old fashions. Again, it's a very simple cocktail.
It sounds intimidating, I'll give you
You need a
that.
little bit more specialized equipment, not gonna lie, but
It has fire involved.
it has fire involved. You need some wood. We're using a barrel head, so it already has some nice whiskey flavors into it. It's already pre-charred, so you're less likely to just light it on fire, which is always good. But the process of making the actual old fashions itself is the same.
Doesn't deviate.
We're adding a couple steps. We're changing up the garnish. We're changing the sweetener.
But it's still those core
it's all
truths
still-
of
It's still
old fashioned.
bitters, sweetener, spirit, garnish. We're sticking to the formula. So the first step that you always got to do with the smoked old fashioned is you got to smoke the glass. And as you can see, I don't have the dome, I don't have the big board. I have a sweating torch that if you do any kind of plumbing, you might have.
You might have.
You just light her on up, and you're just gonna cook the wood a little bit. It might take a little bit.
So it's not like you need straight up shooting flames for
No.
the pyromanias out there.
You need smoke. So
there's some embers coming on the char of the barrel head.
I mean, honestly,
Okay.
right now we can smell it. It's
Yep.
beautiful. We got a little bit, nothing's on fire.
But
Trap
it's
it.
just enough to trap it in there. Okay.
That's all we're doing. Now, if you're looking for the show, which is half the fun of this drink, let's be honest, is you're playing with fire.
You're playing with fire.
You're playing with fire. Get the dome. Play with it. It's fun. It's on Amazon.
Try it out.
They're not that expensive.
But I will say with the barrel head here, like I am getting some wonderful aromas
since it's, I'm going to call it seasoned wood.
Yes, exactly.
So since it already has that into it, and to be
It's
truthful
primed
with you,
for it.
this is a rye whiskey barrel that we're using, one of our single barrel picks.
We're not biased,
But
it's probably pretty darn good.
it was a very, very tasty rye. The barrel just outlived its life as a barrel, so we took it apart.
So does it have to be a barrel stave? Can
You know-
it be other smokable woods?
Play around with it.
Okay.
Try cherry. Don't do pine. It'll be very tarry and bitter. But oak, any of the fruit woods, if you have apple, if you have anything.
Okay.
Pretty much if you want to go to the food smoking aisle at your hardware store supermarket.
That's what I was wondering. It would
grab
still
some
be
chips.
equivalent. You'd be good.
Try it.
Okay.
The worst thing that's going to happen is it doesn't taste really great, but you still have a
You-
nice fun old fashioned.
Right.
All right, so we let these smoke. They've, as we can see, a nice
There's a
little
nice little
coating.
cloud in
You
there,
know?
yeah.
It's fun. You got the show. Hopefully that shows up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it's all the same.
So are you doing this one a little bit different than our traditional?
So we're doing it different,
just to show you a different
way.
avenue.
If you want to do
Yeah.
syrup, you can do syrup. Syrup's fun because you can add all kinds of different flavors.
Fair enough.
You can infuse.
So not only you'd have smoked, you could have a different flavored
Exactly.
old fashioned. Okay.
This is just straight, simple syrup. It's a 1-to-1. I don't like my old fashions overly sweet, so I'm going to go a little bit lighter on just under a ½ ounce.
That's where people can build them as they see fit.
It's all personal, and there's nothing wrong with finding what works for you and doing that.
So I noticed the glasses are very similar to the ones we had for the traditional.
These are a little bit wider
Okay.
and not as deep, and that's really so the next step, well, the end step, works a little bit better of our clear ice cubes, which we'll get into.
Clear ice.
Clear ice, very important.
It's a quest of many.
It is, and it's very attainable. It's not,
Doesn't have to be a big
it doesn't
process.
have to be this big thing.
Okay.
You can make it very easily.
Okay.
I'm going with Angostura again, traditional flavor, but I'm only doing 1 dash. And then we're going to mix it up with Woodford Old Fashioned Orange bitters.
Okay.
So the reason that I picked orange bitters is we're not going to muddle this one.
Fair enough.
So to get more orange flavor into it, we're relying on the bitters.
The bitters.
Now, as this is a dropper versus a dasher, about 7 drops instead of a dash.
Got it.
We add our liquor. This time, we're going with bourbon. We're upping it up. We're going with the Yellowstone single barrel pick of ours. It's barrel 1. It's 102 proof, so we up the proof again. But this is also on the sweeter side. But it's still an excellent, very tasty bourbon. And as I said before, and we'll say again, 2 ounces.
Already, even though this one might decidedly be more complex because it's a smoked old fashioned. It feels simpler. Is that just simply because of the syrup and the bitters?
It's syrup, it's bitters, and it's no muddling.
It's all of like ready-made stuff. You put it together, you stir it.
The hardest part's the ice and the garnish on this one.
Fair enough.
So, jumping into the ice. We talked a little bit, just touching that I'm using clear ice this time. For clear ice, all you need is an old school Igloo lunch pail, the cooler one.
The one with the single
one with
handle
the single
over
handle.
the top? Okay.
What you're gonna do is you break the lid right off. You don't need that lid.
Gone.
Take it, throw it away.
Duly noted.
Don't need it.
Should I explain that to my husband when I break his lunch cooler?
Oh, maybe just go buy one. They're like $10.
Okay, I'll just get it separate.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So you do that. You fill it an inch to the top.
Okay.
Tap water. No boiling.
No boiling, no filtered
nothing.
water,
filtered
nothing
water.
special.
Straight out of
Just
the
straight
tap.
out of tap.
Into.
You're debunking a lot of myths and stuff
mean,
that are out there right now.
I'm gonna, go ahead and do one of these.
Look at that clear ice. That's clear ice.
And then you put it in your freezer. 24 to 36 hours later, you take the Igloo out, you flip it upside down onto a cutting board,
Okay.
and it's gonna come out.
So will it be just a big chunk?
There will be one big chunk and then a bubble of water on top of it.
Got
Since
ya.
you flipped it upside down, it directionally freezes.
Okay.
That's the important thing, is directionally freezing. So then you just pop it open, let all the water drain out. That has all the bubbles and the sediment and the white part.
All of the stuff that makes it like cloudy.
Is gone.
Duly noted.
And then you break it into cubes. Which
that seems too simple.
I do with a serrated bread knife and a meat tenderizer.
Just sort of.
Just get a little going and then whack it. And it breaks fairly nicely into these beautiful clear cubes.
Yeah, those are gorgeous.
So, on to this last part. This, in my opinion, is the most challenging part. Is you're making your garnish. So you pull a nice little bit of orange zest there.
Does garnish matter? How do I put it that way?
It matters in two different ways.
Okay.
It matters in the appearance. It makes the drink look attractive. And then it also should play with what's in the drink.
So I drink it with my eyes.
First, nose.
Drink it with my nose, and then I drink it with my mouth.
So as that all works together, so the zest of the orange has all the oils, that beautiful orange aroma.
Yeah.
So as we put that right on top,
so that's the first thing
you're going to get that orange.
Okay.
So while it's not overpowering in the drink like the 1950s version,
right,
it still has
It'll be a nice ancillary
It will.
experience.
And then we also switched up our cherries.
That cherry is distinctly a different color.
It is much darker. It has a much heavier syrup and a much fuller flavor. So these are Maracasas, Luxardos. They're all delicious. They all play the same role in a deep, rich flavored cherry that will make an excellent, excellent smoked old fashioned.
Oh my gosh. Visually, those are...
They are night and day.
Amazingly stunning, but strikingly different. Yeah. Like the neon cherry sets off the traditional old fashioned in a way.
And it brings back that nostalgia of also the Sundays that you got when you were a kid with your grandparents. It'll bring that back, that memory, which is always fun.
And again, we're talking, it took you minutes.
Few steps. I've made 4 cocktails. You have another couple over for the night.
It's perfect.
It's excellent.
I will say the orange on the nose is distinctly different in this one.
It's not a sweet orange this time.
It's more of a savory. It's a traditional, what I would consider on citrus.
And with the clear ice seeing through the glass.
And then we have the drips of the cherry. Oh my gosh.
Going down it.
I can't wait.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So still an old fashioned.
It still hits all of those classic notes.
But it's very different at the same time.
And something about the visual effect of the clear ice, the distinctive garnish, like all of it goes together.
Yes.
Oh. And with this one being a bourbon,
it's sweeter.
It's a little bit sweeter.
It's still not. It's not as sugary as
so
the other one
it's
either.
balanced a little better too, or a little just differently.
I think it's just a different balance.
Yeah.
And
So-
you do get that hint of smoke.
Yeah.
From it coating the glass.
From it coating the glass and being there, yeah. So this is definitely a fun, kitschy one to try from that standpoint.
Definitely.
What other like variations? So this is a smoked. What other variations have you seen?
I mean, the fruits change, the spirit changes, the bitters. We have a large selection of bitters. That's a lot of the flavor components come from the bitters. It's a very powerful
Even by changing up one of the bitters
one
would have
ingredient.
been.
I've seen people when they're making the ice, they'll put the bitters in the ice. Saves a step, but also it slowly releases into the
Slowly
drink.
releases, a
So
gradual.
as you can make more than one old fashioned into the glass, don't have to worry about more bitters.
So I think one thing that even from the traditional one to this one is encouraging people to stay curious when it comes to this.
Always.
Because there's no right or wrong.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I could get behind that bar.
Make whatever you, and it's still an old fashioned.
And it still will be an old fashioned because I hit those components.
Right.
But, oh, this is perfect. Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
All right, we've done the traditional old fashioned. We've done the smoked old fashioned. What could there possibly be left
All
to
right.
old fashioned?
So now we're just going way out to left field, and we're just following the formula.
Formula only.
Formula only.
So formula being,
Sweetener, bitters, spirit, garnish.
okay,
That's all we're going with. So this one's gonna get
a little weird.
A little weird.
Welcome
It's
to Cap and
tasty,
Cork.
But we do things
A little
a
different.
little weird.
Okay,
So we're doing a gin and mezcal old fashioned.
okay, the spirits came from nowhere.
Spirits are out of nowhere. They're not brown.
Not brown at all.
They're not spicy.
And a mezcal is the equivalent for
It's the smoky cousin to tequila.
tequila. Okay.
So
What are we gonna get from those spirits,
So
or
we're
what are we
gonna
looking
get
for?
earthy.
Okay.
We're gonna get herbally, but at the same time with grapefruit and strawberry as the garnishes instead of cherry and orange. So we're still going red fruit citrus. So we're still within the realm. But we're way over muddling these. We're
Okay.
pulverizing it. So it's gonna change the color of the drink. And it's not going on ice.
Oh,
So it's all kinds.
Another curveball there.
We're throwing it way out there. It's
All right.
delicious, and we're gonna have some fun with it.
okay. Let's do it.
We're starting with a Fee Brothers rhubarb. bitters.
Rhubarb.
So rhubarb, whole different flavor. You know, rhubarb's got that little bit of bitterness. But as everybody in Indiana knows, strawberry rhubarb pie is one of the greatest things out there.
Yeah,
So
it's kind of like
we're-
sainthood level
We're
for a
playing
lot of.
right into that.
Okay.
It's gonna look like I'm doing a lot, but remember, I'm making 2 cocktails.
So all of our strawberry rhubarb fans are
This-
definitely going to want to follow this.
They are. And as this doesn't have those bitter components that most bitters, I mean, it's still bitter, but it's more floral and
But
fruity.
the aromatic side of it is
Up front.
yes.
Very up front. Our sweetener, again, we're switching it up. We're not going sugar.
Okay. How are we doing different?
We're going agave syrup. So agave syrup, kind of the base component of what goes into tequila and mezcals. It lends a little bit of those grassy flavor notes, but it's also still very sweet.
Sweet.
So we are going with a whole ounce. Now, something I hadn't touched on before on why I'm measuring instead of free pouring. I like to measure because then you can consistently remake the drink and adjust whenever you find something's a little different that you want to do. When you free
It would
pour,
even make sense to have some sort of journal or something. If you're true, like,
If you're
digging into the mixology, home mixology
right,
stuff.
a quarter ounce can make a difference.
Yeah.
As we were coming up with this cocktail, a quarter ounce made a
big
huge
difference.
So you just need to get into that.
All right, we've got our grapefruit.
We got our grapefruits.
Lots of strawberries.
We got lots of strawberries.
I can definitely see how the color is going to change on this one.
I mean, strawberries are very red, but they also have a lot of water content to them, so overdoing it on the strawberry, really not possible. This one I do recommend the tooth, because you're really getting
You're getting in there, you're tearing up those fibers
flat
of that.
bottom, not gonna work. And don't worry about the pith. Get in there. Break it up.
This is seriously still an old fashioned?
No. We're following a formula. I mean, there are definitely places that make Mezcal old fashions. You can find those at restaurants. That is a thing. So we're taking some liberties.
Liberties.
But
why not? Why wouldn't we?
Part of the cocktail culture is having fun and mixing it up.
I'll definitely say, like, not all of my friends love the fact that I only typically have bourbon in the house. So if there's gives me cause to stock gin or stock tequila or stock mezcal, I mean, to have something for everybody.
I mean, even before we add any liquor to this.
That just looks delicious, though.
I mean, this just smells like summer.
Oh, yes.
That's your childhood.
Yes. That grapefruit on the nose just
that little
grabs it and then comes in with the sweetness of the strawberry.
So, Del Maguey Vida.
Okay.
A great everyday mezcal. Not super earthy, but definitely earthy.
Okay.
It has those smoky notes to it that all good mezcals do. And as for these whole two cocktails we're making, 1 ounce. You just want the notes, some flavor notes from it.
That's why I was thinking that earthiness is going to play off of
the sweet.
Everything from the rhubarb bitters to the grapefruit to the strawberries.
We're pretty much going all full complementary.
Okay.
And not much contrast.
Contrast, yeah.
So Ford's gin, you can use any London dry gin you want. I prefer Ford's. It just is a great balanced gin.
And that's one thing that I say, it's not, like, I don't feel like it's juniper forward. Like,
it's not. It's definitely still juniper.
It's still juniper, but
it's not kicking you in the teeth.
Pine tree in the face.
You're not
juniper in your face.
chewing on it. 3 ounces.
I can smell it from here.
You can. I mean, it's right there. I like to give it a little pre-stir.
I'm gonna do full disclosure and say I'm not a gin drinker, nor am I a mezcal drinker, so.
And as I am in the exact same boat as you.
You're gonna try and make a convert?
I think this might switch you somewhat.
I will remain not bourbon curious, but.
But just be curious.
Curious.
Now the fun part, take one of your big cubes. You're gonna make a mess.
It's okay.
It's fun. Crack that. Hit it with the spoon. It's gonna fall apart. It's going everywhere. You just pick up the ones. You just cleaned it.
Pick up the chunks.
You just cleaned it. It's okay.
Those shards of the clear ice look like diamonds. Like, if nothing less, it's a presentation thing.
I mean, it's fun.
It's fun.
It's fun. You're making a mess.
You can say you hand crushed your own ice.
Your significant other's gonna be mad at you.
When are they not?
So crush that in, take another hole.
Okay.
And as much as you can get it in there.
That color is glorious, by the way. Like, it's this balance, it's a sunset in there. Like, it's an orange, red glow. Oh my.
So we kind of topped this stirring glass off, and we're just stirring until it gets cold. It doesn't need to be super cold, and as I said, we're taking the ice out. So the other important thing on this is we are going to double strain. Double strain is a new process that we've done. The reason we're doing it is there's a lot of pulp.
Tons.
We really don't want a lot of pulp in the drink, and we're catching all the ice.
Okay.
So double strain.
That has a wonderful, what do I want to say, viscosity to it as
does.
well. So you can tell it has a lot of that fruit still
fruit
getting
flavor
through. We're not straining it just because it doesn't look like we're getting any fruit in the glass. There's a lot of fruit in that spirit.
There is.
And tell me about these glasses.
So these glasses are Nick and Nora glasses. And for you murder mystery people out there, because I know there's a lot of you right now, you should be looking up Nick and Nora as I'm typing this in,
Yes.
because you will be, just like Rachel, following down a rabbit hole.
Big rabbit hole. Nick and Nora Charles, the couple that are like gumshoe sleuths in The Thin Man from, oh wait, I'm gonna remember the date, 1934. Yes, I tortured my husband with watching it the other night. I loved it. He fell asleep, but that's okay. They had approximately 13, no wait, what did I say?
Well,
a dozen martinis before they were 15 minutes in.
What's great is you can fall into the movie, you can fall into the TV shows.
Even better.
And there was a live on Broadway rendition as well
The Thin Man?
with Nick and Nora.
Look at that.
So,
As you sip your...
Well, before we had talked about how garnish can be important.
Right.
The important on this one is you want that strawberry at the top of the glass by your nose when you're drinking. You want the aroma of the strawberry to just hit you.
Okay.
So out of your Nick and Nora glass, because this is the style of glass they drank out of.
This is beautiful. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, wow.
So it's not ginny.
It's not.
It's not overpowering mezcal.
But it's an earthy balance.
To the fruitiness of the beverage.
Bingo. I really think people need to try this.
It's a beautiful drink. It's a little bit extra work compared to the other ones.
It is.
Even with the burning of the wood.
But it's a category breaking drink from that standpoint. And it's a spirit category breaking drink. Like, I think that those two aren't ones that people would typically put together. So it's making people go beyond their comfort zone.
Try something different.
Break out of that comfort zone. Oh, wow. And just like you said, like, not a traditional color when it comes to that, but...
Not traditional flavor, but it still follows the formula.
Yeah, it's perfect. Thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you.
So we're gonna be doing more of these fun exploratory videos with Brian, just, you know, diving into different categories, diving into different cocktails, kind of even looking at your own home bar, what you have and how you can use it differently. There may be a matrix or two involved.
Maybe
we'll figure it out, I don't know. So make sure that you hit the like and subscribe on our YouTube channel.
And don't forget to ring the bell so you
get
know.
Notified. That way you will know when we post a new video, and we're gonna do a contest, aren't we?
We are. So the cutting board got used.
It did. So it's authentic.
It's authentic now. So it both has the bar conversions on it and the recipe for the gin and mezcal old fashioned right on it.
Which is the one you're definitely gonna want out of all of them.
So go ahead and comment on the video, and Rachel will get the winner from that.
Yeah, I'll put your comments in a randomizer and we'll select a winner about this time next week, and we'll go from there. And maybe, I don't know, should their comments be what they want us to do next?
Your thought processes, your favorite cocktail?
Yeah.
Let us know where you think we want to go.
We could explore Manhattans, we could explore margaritas.
We can go anywhere.
Yeah, anywhere. Cheers.
Cheers.